Welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Bull. Today we're talking about healthcare and healthcare real estate. Please welcome my next guest. It's Dan Biber. Dan is Development and Project Management Services Division. He leads that division, and he's with Pope and Land Enterprises, the large developer and owner of office buildings. But Dan's group provides third-party design and construction services, and they have a special focus on interior build-out of medical office space. Dan, thanks for joining us here in Studio One.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Let's talk about some of the surprises that a medical office user, someone who has a practice, what might surprise them in the interior construction process. What is the biggest thing that kind of jumps out at them when they're like, whoa, wait a minute?
Well, one of the biggest surprises is the timing of the interior construction process for medical spaces. On a typical medical space, construction could last as long as 3 to 4 or even 5 months duration, not even considering the process for design and lease negotiations. So a lot of medical practice groups have 8 or 9 month total duration process for their medical build-outs. So that's a big surprise that they do not take into consideration early on. We will always guide them and always suggest that they start planning early on.
Yeah, that's a very good tip because they may think, oh, you could build out that interior in 60 days, right? but the planning and permitting may take 60 days.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about construction cost. Where are we now on construction costs? Is that another area that a medical tenant should be aware of?
Absolutely. Construction costs are nationally being increased over the next months. Now, more specifically in the medical field, since it is more complex and more specialized, construction is being ranged from $70 to $80 a square foot, and it's steadily increasing above that. The more specialized the medical practice is, the higher those costs are.
Wow. Yeah, I think, and then you've seen some that are a lot more expensive than that than on these interior build-outs, right, depending on what they need.
Absolutely. We've seen construction costs as high as $250 to $300 a square foot, and this is just for the interior medical build-out.
And how is that trending? Is that how much more expensive is that than maybe 2 or 3 years ago?
We're seeing a trend of 15 to 25% cost increase just from a construction standpoint alone. Most of that is the labor market. There's a shortage of labor nationwide, and that's causing the increase of this overall construction costs.
Mm-hmm. What else would you tell a medical office user about a team? So if they're going to have a relocation or a new office, what kind of team should they put together?
Well, the first thing that we suggest clients to do is to engage a qualified third-party project manager, somebody who can guide them and lead them in the entire process, who can help them hire and select the appropriate design firm and the correct general contractor that fully understands what medical construction is all about and how to construct such a specialized project.
Right, and I would add to that a medical office tenant rep, right? So maybe that's a little self-serving. That's what we do, but it's one of the things that we see that smart companies have tenant reps that help them, even law firms that have big real estate departments. But we do see some medical office tenants that get into some deals that maybe they shouldn't have because they weren't guided by an office tenant rep. So I'd add that and make sure that office tenant rep has a medical background and understands the healthcare industry, right? What would you tell a tenant who is in medical and they're considering going into retail space? There's a lot of medical tenants now. They're going into shopping centers and retail space, or maybe they're going into a building that wasn't originally built for medical offices, general office building. What tips would you have for them?
Well, the current trend in the healthcare industry is to go into a decentralized locations that's more patient communities oriented, just like you mentioned, into the retail centers, strategically positioned retail centers. Now, what many medical practice groups do not realize is those retail centers are traditionally set up for a retail shopping establishment. meaning many of the physical components of that building are not set up for a medical facility. More specifically, the structural elements, mechanical components, electrical, and plumbing systems are not geared for a medical practice groups, which will obviously increase the cost of the retail construction for a medical space. So that's very, very important for the medical group to consider what those costs are and what additional requirements they may need to do to that retail establishment.
Right, because you might need backup power, right? You might need more HVAC. You're definitely going to need more plumbing. You may need more electrical, so you might need a lot more build out than you're thinking because it wasn't built for medical in the beginning. Well, that's good information. Well, Dan, thanks for joining us here.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Well,
Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, we appreciate it. And stay tuned. We're going to talk about modular construction being used for office space and specifically for medical office space. I'm Michael Bull. This is the Commercial Real Estate Show. We'll be right back.
The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you by Bull Realty, a great place to do business. RealNex, software for productivity. Xceligent, information for the professionals. And Commercial Search, properties for sale and lease. To access these companies or for additional videos, podcasts, and articles, visit creshow.com.